Welcome back to the Breaking Our Borders podcast. I'm Dr. Michelle Border, and in today's episode, I'm going to talk about parenting, what children need from their parents, and what you can do to be the best parent for your child. We may have borders in our minds about parenting from our parents' methods, from friends' ideas, and from society about how we should raise our children. So let's get started breaking down those borders right now. Today I want to address the borders in our minds about parenting. Borders are created in our minds from past experiences. Some of us did not have good role models in our own parents. Some of us don't know where to begin to obtain information on how to be a good parent. And some of us think we have to be a perfect parent for our kids, or they will grow up to feel about us the way we felt about our parents. In this episode, I will provide you with some parenting tips that may break down some of those borders for you. I see parenting like walking on a tightrope. Leaning too far to one side or the other, and you're in trouble. You have to find the fine line of doing what's right for your child while finding balance on a tightrope. The problem is your child doesn't know what they need and will struggle to develop communication skills to express what they need until they are nearly grown. On top of that, it is the parent's job to help develop those communication skills. Each child is unique and have their own needs and different traits. So how do you know what to do for your child? When I found out I was going to be a mom, I was determined not to be like my parents. I wanted to raise mentally healthy children and did all I could to be the best parent I could be. And yet, as adults, my sons have told me of several things I did that could have been done better for them. I had no idea at the time that it wasn't the right thing to do. However, both of my boys know that all I did was out of love, and because I wanted what was best for them. They know I wasn't perfect, and jokingly tell me about the times I wasn't, but they're not experiencing trauma because of anything I did as a mom. Also, when I found out I was going to be a mom, I immediately started research on parenting methods. I had only experienced my own parents' methods and knew that wasn't the route I wanted to go. But other than that, what not to do, I didn't know what I should do. I read as much information as I could about parenting, behavior management, and life stages of children. I gathered all the information, then sorted through what I agreed with and what I thought was best way to parent. The problem with all this information is that it was generalized to cover what most children need. Again, every child is different, so different methods may or may not work. With my first son, he was around the age of 1.5 years. I remember trying the method of not baby-proofing the entire house and leaving some things within his reach that couldn't hurt him. I was determined that he would learn that some things were not for him. One day he decided to grab the TV remote. I took it away from him gently and said, No, that's for Mommy. I set it back on the table, and he grabbed it again. Again I said, No, that's for Mommy. I set it back on the table, and he grabbed it again. This went on for a couple more times. When I realized he was not going to learn a lesson here, I began to smack his hand when he started to grab for the remote and say, No, that's for Mommy. This is not a practice I support now, but at the time I had been influenced to believe some physical punishment was acceptable. After I smacked his hand, he stared me straight in the eyes and reached for the remote again. When I smacked his hand, he pulled it back, still staring me straight in the eyes, then reached out again for that remote. Another smack, no tears, not even a whimper, and reached out again for it. It was at this moment I knew I was in for a challenge with this child. The parenting methods I had learned were not working. I gave up these methods and went back to full baby-proofing of the house. I now know about a different method of redirection. That would have been a more helpful parenting method when my son was little. There are 4 different parenting styles. The first one is called authoritative, where parents enforce rules, but they're warm and supportive. There's authoritarian, where the parent is more domineering, dictatorial. They enforce punishments. They're unsupportive and can be physically or emotionally abusive and use that as a punishment. The permissive parent is lenient with few demands and act like a friend to their child. The uninvolved parent is neglectful, provides little guidance and support, and neglect may be physical or emotional or both. Parents can be a combination of these different types as well. We want to be authoritative parents. These parents show love, but not to the point of not providing discipline and structure. They show fairness, but not to the point of being too lenient. They provide routine, but not to the point of being too flexible. They teach their children independence, but they also have boundaries. They have rules, but they don't stick to them so much that they don't have an understanding for some behaviors. They have discipline and consequences, but they're not so harsh that you don't have compassion. And they provide stability, but not without teaching how to adjust to changes. This is that tightrope of parenting, trying to balance what needs to be done for your child without tipping too far to one side or the other. Authoritarian parenting is the type that typically involves abuse. They may see parenting as a means to teach the child to become what they should be by force or physical discipline. There is an old saying, spare the rod and spoil the child. Meaning if you don't physically harm your child for poor behavior, then they will turn out to be little brats. I don't agree with this method. As studies have shown, it is not effective and can do more emotional harm to the child than overall good. Now, not all authoritarian parents are physically abusive, but the high control and low warmth and strictness of this method can also cause emotional issues for their child. My parents were of this type, and I learned more negative emotional behaviors and have developed personality issues because of it. I also didn't learn valuable life lessons that I needed to be happy and emotionally healthy. Permissive parenting is not typically abusive or neglectful, but it doesn't provide structure, boundaries, or self-regulation for a child. Children need these things to learn self-control, how to follow rules and laws, and social skills. Children from this type of parenting may become self-centered and only think about their own wants and needs because that is what their parents did for them. This may be a struggle when forming healthy relationships in adulthood. The uninvolved parent may be considered neglectful. This could be physically or emotionally. These parents are typically too involved in their own issues to focus on their child's needs. They may not understand the importance or know how to be present for their child. It's as if the child is just there. The parent may feed them, clothe them, and put a roof over their head, but that's pretty much the extent of it. With a lack of structure, routine, or guidance, a child with an uninvolved parent will struggle with low self-esteem, emotional regulation, and self-control that may result in delinquent behavior. These struggles will carry into adulthood and can affect the development of healthy relationships. My husband describes parenting like getting a new computer. It has some basic things loaded on it, but you have to download or install all the programs you want for your computer. You have to add the programs you want for your computer, and it doesn't just come with them. This is kind of like being a parent. A baby is born with all the parts it needs. It has the basic components to download or install information. But it's up to the parents to provide that information. If we install too much positivity, our children could become privileged, spoiled, or selfish. If we install too much negativity, our children can become emotionally damaged, suffer with mental issues, and have personality disorders. To be a good parent, you need to love your child unconditionally and make sure they know this. Regardless of what they do or how they behave, make sure they know you love them by telling them and showing it with affection. You can also show your love by being present in your child's life. Spend quality time with them. Talk to them instead of putting them in front of a screen, and show up for their activities and events. Listen to your child when they voice their thoughts, opinions, and feelings. You don't have to agree with what they are expressing, but let them know they are being heard and provide some guidance or support for what they are saying. Model the behavior you want your child to demonstrate. Children learn so much by example, and they repeat what they see and hear. They're going to see and hear more from their parents than anyone else in their lives. There are many things children need to be taught. Just like that computer has to have the information loaded, children aren't born with the knowledge they need to be a happy and healthy human. There are several things children need to be taught by their parents. They're not just instincts that a child is born with. It has to be taught by example or lesson. One is boundaries. This is a respect for others' belongings, their bodies, and their feelings. Children need to understand how to create boundaries for themselves, for their personal space, for protection of their body, and protection of their own feelings. And they need to understand that others have the right to have their own boundaries as well. Empathy and compassion are another big skill. This is taught by the age of 3 to 5 and can begin as early as 18 months old. Showing a child how to be gentle with your actions, not allowing aggressive behavior, and teaching by example by recognizing a child's feelings and showing compassion and empathy when they're hurt, sad, or frustrated can help them learn how to be empathetic to others. Appreciation and gratefulness is another big skill for children. Don't give a child everything they want. Explain why they can't have it. Don't just say no or because I said so. Not explaining reasons for your actions makes the child frustrated and feel like their feelings don't matter. Teach them to work for things they want and that they may have to wait to get some things that they want. Children need to be taught to respect themselves and others. This is kind of like those boundaries I just mentioned. Children need to understand that they can and cannot do or have certain things. They cannot invade another person's space or take their belongings. They cannot cause verbal or physical harm to others. When using someone else's things, they need to use it with caution and care. They need to know that all humans and things have value and should be treated with importance and respect. The best way to teach this one is by example, showing your child respect while guiding them on how to show it to others. Children need to be shown love and how to give love. The best way to teach love is, again, by example. I would describe love as caring about someone so much that you want the best for them and are willing to do what you can to provide them with the emotional and physical things they need, all while not ignoring your own needs. In healthy relationships, this idea of love would be reciprocated. Children will learn to reciprocate love by the way their parents love them. Education is also something children need to learn about. This is not just sending your kid to school. It's also providing learning situations at home. This could be an academic skill, but you also need to support their emotional health, their life skills, and life tasks. Teaching the above topics, teaching them learning outside of the classroom, like teaching them how to cook or clean or do repairs around the house. It also means placing importance on their learning at school. By being involved in activities at their school, looking at their homework with them, asking about their day, or giving praise for a job well done at school shows your children that education at school is important and they are good at it. Appropriate behaviors and self-control can be taught by examples, but also needs to be shown by how to do it and when to provide support. An example of this would be going to church. Children don't automatically know that they need to be quiet and sit still during a service. Depending on their age, this is not even possible for some children. They have to learn how to control themselves in this type of situation. The parent needs to teach them how to use a quiet voice, have quiet activities for them to do when their attention is waning, and provide an alternative environment for them to go to if their developmental age is not ready for this long-term physical control. Know what is appropriate for your child's age and expose them to situations where they need to learn self-control. You also can provide examples and guidance in those situations, like teaching them how to have a quiet voice or providing other activities for them to do. Stability, structure, and routine are very important in a child's life. Children need these to feel safe, to build trust in people and in their world, and it provides healthy development. Knowing that things will happen in order, for example, household routines like when we eat, when is bedtime, and having a positive environment, provides children with a sense of comfort because there are no surprises or chaos like that with abuse or neglect. Stability of the people in their lives and the positive interactions with those people shows children that they can trust people and feel safe with them. Structure can also be shown through enforcing rules, having restrictions on behaviors, and providing schedules. This shows children that there are things that are or are not acceptable in society, in interactions with others, and provide some self-discipline. Knowing how to communicate with others is also important for children to learn. In episode 8, I discussed the importance of healthy communication to reduce conflict and to ask for what we need in relationships. It is a skill that has to be taught. We aren't born knowing how to express our feelings. It has to be demonstrated. When a child is young, approximately 12 to 18 months old, parents can start communicating with them about their feelings, even though they cannot yet express it back or understand how to control those feelings yet. Children during this age often have temper tantrums because of frustration with the inability to talk, control their feelings, and not understanding yet why they can't get their way. The parent could tell them, "I understand you are frustrated, but we can't yell. We need to use a quiet voice," and demonstrate that quiet voice. Sure, they probably will still be frustrated, but this is the beginning stages of teaching your child how to communicate calmly. They will learn by example and repetition of the parent's behavior for what is expected of them in this type of situation. Responsibility is another thing that is important for children to learn. This will look very differently at different ages, but it is teaching your child to complete tasks. From 12 to 18 months old, they can start putting toys in a container to clean up. As the child gets older, they can be given more tasks around the house to help with or complete independently. Schoolwork should be something they are responsible for and for doing well while striving to do their best work. They should be taught to always give their best effort, doing the task to the best of their abilities, and given praise for both. This is another lesson that has to be taught. Children need to be shown how to successfully complete tasks and follow up from the parent to be sure it was done, along with praise for completing the task. This not only teaches responsibility, but also gives the child a sense of pride and accomplishment that will boost their self-esteem. Going along with self-esteem is confidence. And this also has to be taught by the parents. Confidence for a child can be built when a parent is following positive parenting methods, teaching the child how to act in various situations, providing stability and love. Giving praise when the child has done well and guidance when they struggle will also boost their self-confidence. We want our children to feel confident and positive about themselves, but not to the point of being boastful or conceited. Parents often think their child is more special than all others, can do no wrong, and is the most precious thing ever put on this planet. It's good if we feel this way about our children, but we don't want to impress that on them to the point that they feel privileged and not ambitious to complete tasks. Motivation and work ethic kind of goes along with this. Giving your child tasks to do and encouraging them to finish it to the end helps to build a work ethic. Encouragement to finish and praise for a job well done will create motivation in your child to put forth their best effort and want to do that with all the tasks they encounter. It is also good to show them that the tasks they will have to do in life will not always be something they want to do, but they should always put forth their best effort. Explain a reason why the task should be done, like, your work is helping someone else, or, I know you don't like to do this, but you are doing a good job and I really appreciate your help. So, how do we walk that fine line of parenting in a way that we provide our children with all they need emotionally and all those lessons I just talked about? Well, one part is a lot of trial and error. Until your child is grown enough to show some personality characteristics, which can be by the age of 2, you will have to rely on your own knowledge. You could also think about someone whose parenting methods you admire and be like them. Hopefully this is your own parents, but sadly for most of us it's not. Think things through in the way you would think those parents would, and talk to them about their thoughts on parenting. The internet, books, social media, your pediatrician, and counselors are also good places to get parenting advice. One bit of advice I would like to give is to absorb all the information you can gather, then sort through it and decide what will work best for you and your child. One last thing I would like to discuss today is the question of, why weren't our parents better at parenting? Why are millions of children subjected to abuse, neglect, and childhood trauma every year? The most prominent answer is that they were abused or neglected in their own childhood. Like I mentioned above, children learn by example and carry that knowledge into their adulthood. Another reason for negative parenting is a lack of knowledge about parenting methods and the emotional development of children. I discussed this development in episode 3. Having an understanding of what is happening in a child's mind and what their needs are helps the parent better understand how to treat their child in various situations and in various stages of development. This knowledge isn't provided in school and possibly not by our own parents. It's up to the parent to get this knowledge for themselves, but many don't know how, know that they even should, or are so absorbed in dealing with their own issues that they do not make the effort. Another possible cause of childhood trauma is the environmental stresses the parent has to cope with, like finances, job responsibilities, and household management. If a parent is dealing with their own childhood trauma, have stresses of maintaining finances to provide a home life, and don't have support or resources to help with these issues, they are more likely to abuse or neglect their own children. The only way I see to fix this is if the parent wants to work through their issues and find help to be a better parent. It is my wish that our society would see more importance in this issue and offer parenting classes either in school or at hospitals when a baby is born. That more resources are available to parents who are financially struggling, and offer more mental health options to be provided in our schools. Again, as long as you are motivated by love for your child and learn how to show that love in a positive way, not an abusive one, your child will probably turn out just fine. If you learn more about positive parenting, understand more about the tightrope of being a good parent, and do all you can for your child out of love, then I believe you're on the right path. Please continue to listen to my podcast for more topics about childhood trauma and the healing journey. Please also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Thanks for listening.